Hey, I'm Car Boot Chris. I'm a full-time UK online reseller. I operate mainly on eBay and also Whatnot, but also some other platforms as well. I'm going to bring you regular podcasts all about reselling, hopefully to keep you company, to entertain, or maybe to educate. Who knows? Welcome to the Everything Reselling podcast. Hey everybody, welcome back. It's series 3 of the Everything Reselling podcast. We are back for a new series, and it's been a few weeks, but hopefully it'll be worth the wait. This series, I'm going to do things a little bit differently. We may still have some guests on, but what I'm going to do is, for series 3, I'm going to focus mainly on what you guys want to talk about. So when I say you guys in the YouTube chat. So if you're listening to this back on Spotify or Apple Music or Amazon, Alexa, and all that stuff, then this is a recording of the podcast that is on YouTube. So I am focusing today on the YouTube chat and the questions that are coming in. Hopefully we get some questions. It's going to be pretty boring otherwise. Any discussion points and that, please bring them up in the chat and I will address them as best I can. Also, if you'd like a discussion point for next week's podcast, then feel free to drop a comment once the show is finished on the YouTube video, and I'll pick up those questions and I'll try and run with them next week. That's how it's going to work, generally anyway. I can't speak. It's been that long. Yeah, so this is the Everything Reselling podcast. We talk about all reselling stuff. I'm a full-time reseller, and I buy and sell sort of everything. I'm an everything seller, and I operate mainly on eBay, but I also operate on Whatnot as well. And I'm looking forward to going hell for leather on Vinted when Vinted Pro actually comes out as well. Definitely going to be giving that a go. Welcome to everybody in the YouTube chat. We've got quite a few people in already. I just want to say thank you to everybody who's supported this podcast, who's listened to it, who's downloaded it, who's followed it on YouTube. Here's some stats for you. Series 1 and 2. Only 20 episodes, series 1 and 2, 10 episodes in each one. 67,000 views on YouTube on the podcast, but that does include the shorts that I make to promote it. On downloads on the audio side, so all the people that have downloaded the podcast on Spotify, Apple Music, and all the other platforms, nearly 3,000 downloads. So that's brilliant for just 2 series. Thank you, everybody. And also, it's being listened to in 27 countries at the moment. So we've had listeners in 27 different countries, and there's some seriously random countries in there as well. So if you are listening to this and you are in somewhere really random, come over to YouTube and come and let me know where you are listening from and how you even found this podcast. I'd love to know. I'm just seeing some little questions and comments coming on, so we will get to that. I've stalled a little bit. So yeah, season 1 and 2 has been really interesting. We've had a lot of great guests on, and I really, really appreciate it. We're now into season 3, and we're going to get cracking now. Here we go. Jeff on YouTube, big YouTube supporter, Jeff. Jeff has got a question, and he says, "What is one item or category that you absolutely refuse to buy to resell?" There is one answer to this, but it's not an absolute. There's kind of a caveat to it, Jeff. So basically, Lego is a category that I avoid like the plague. Loads of people love picking up Lego, and I get it, because if you know what you're doing and you know about parting it out, or if you use bricks.com or whatever, where you can sell the bricks on their own and make some money. Loads of people do that. The only time I'll ever buy Lego if it's in a brand new and sealed packet. I will not buy loose Lego. Although I say this, Jeff, but last weekend when I was at a boot sale, there was a young lad who was setting up some Lego sets, and he had a Back to the Future DeLorean that he was building at the car boot, literally ready to sell. And he also had some Ghostbusters Lego that he was building and some other bits and pieces. And I did ask him, like, how much do you want for the Back to the Future Lego set? And unfortunately, somebody else had already got in there. So I would have bought that, but I probably would have kept it for my collection. But yeah, there you go. That is the longest answer to a simple question, Jeff. Lego is something that I really hate dealing with. I'll also go as far as to say children's clothing, I tend not to pick up just because it's such a slow seller and the market's so saturated. Things tend to go really, really cheap on children's clothing. I have picked up the odd pair of trainers and the odd like football shirt for children's clothing, but other than that, I don't touch children's gear. There you go. Thank you, Jeff, for your question. Secret Carper on YouTube. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Carper. Do you think live selling is going to be a bigger part of people's online selling going forward with eBay doing live selling soon? Yes, I do. I do believe that, Carper. Although I think that myself included, there's a number of resellers on the current live selling platforms like Whatnot and Tilt who I won't use the phrase struggling on there, but I would say might be reassessing the situation because it can be hard work. And at the moment, I think there's a lot of resellers operating on Whatnot, the big ones excluded probably, but they're struggling to make a profit. And that's happened to me a few times recently as well, where things haven't been selling really for what you need it to sell for. And at the end of the day, right, what you have to remember is we're resellers. We sell for a business. We have to make money. If you are picking stuff up at a charity shop, car boot, and it's costing you £1, and you're going on Whatnot or Tilt and selling it for £2, you might as well not bother. The only thing I would say to that is, as long as if other things are selling for reasonable amounts, then great, because selling stuff for £1, the odd thing is okay because it's a bit of a loss leader. Also, it gets people into your giveaways, it gets people the cheaper postage, and it helps them purchase something else. But if things are constantly going for £1, £2, and £3, you really do have to consider whether it's worth doing. And I think when eBay live selling comes along, I think it's gonna get interesting because I'm really looking forward to seeing what eBay live selling has to offer, because that is gonna put pressure on the other two platforms. But I definitely think live selling's here to stay. If you have a look at some of the Whatnot sellers in the US, Whatnot is huge in the US. People are solely using Whatnot and solely making a living, a really good living from Whatnot on its own without the use of other platforms. It's massive. It's not getting there yet in the UK. And I think partly that is because their advertising is basically using social media, using their own referral schemes to advertise. And for me, I think that could be their downfall in the UK if they don't get their arse into gear and do some proper advertising. Look at what Vinted did. They went all in. Vinted went, you know what, we're either in it for the long haul or we're not going to be in it. They went advertising, TV advertising. That's the way to go. It's the only way to get themselves well known. TV advertising, primetime Saturday night TV. Vinted was all over it. They sponsored various TV shows. That's what they did. And now they're making a profit. And now they are seriously looking to challenge eBay. Whatnot need to do the same. 99 people out of 100 don't know who or what Whatnot is. And Tilt is probably even less than that, if we're honest. So they've got to do something. If they want a foothold before eBay start, they've got to do something. But thanks for your question, Secret Carper. I'm going to try to be a bit quicker with some of these answers because the thing is, you get me started, and you know what I'm like. Jason here on YouTube says, I've learned so much about reselling through watching. Oh, thank you, Jason. I'm really pleased that you've actually managed to pick up something from my nonsense that I ramble half the time. Can I ask, can you do a video to follow so I can learn more about pricing my items, as I'm pretty new reseller? I'll think about doing something like that, Jason, but pricing your items really is relatively simple in that all you need to do is look at what stuff has sold for in the past and what it's currently selling for at the moment. That's the way to go with pricing. It sounds like a simple thing. Sometimes you can't find something, and I'm the same. I've had several items this week. I've had no evidence of listing or sales. So what you have to ask yourself is, how much did I pay for it, and what do I think is a reasonable price for it to go for? And you have a stab in the dark and you just list something. I listed something today, a US Army hat that's got like a skeleton emblem on the front. There's no evidence of it anywhere. Can't find it on Google, can't find it on eBay, can't find it on Terapeak. There's nothing. But I paid £5 for it and I looked at it and I thought, okay, what would be a reasonable price for this hat? It could be super rare. It could be worth £100. I don't know. But I said to myself, right, what's a reasonable price? 30 quid. So I listed it at 30 quid. If it goes super fast, I've probably underpriced it, but we're here to make a profit. If we make a profit, then we can reinvest that and move on. So, yeah, that's what you got to do, Jason. You got to look at the past and look at the present. Hello, the Dave on YouTube. What's that? The Dave Seasons in My Garden. Have you got like YouTube content coming up, Dave? Let me know in the chat. The question is, what's your way to bookkeep and track purchases and record sales expenses? I use QuickBooks, Dave. I think most people know that I do use QuickBooks. I use QuickBooks Self-Employed. I have dabbled with QuickBooks Online. I did upgrade to that, but I went back to Self-Employed because Self-Employed was more suitable for ease of use. I did find on this QuickBooks Online was a little bit more complicated, and was probably more suited if I was like over the VAT threshold and had a bit more of a complicated setup. But I'm a simple buy sell business, so yeah. QuickBooks Self-Employed. Boot sales, I keep a ledger of my cash purchases, and the same if I buy stuff off Facebook Marketplace. If I buy a private purchase or a private collection, I'll keep a ledger and I'll use that as kind of a receipt or a photograph of it and attach it to the transaction in QuickBooks. That's how I deal with cash purchases. But everything else is automated with QuickBooks, Dave, because if you connect your bank accounts to it, it'll import all your transactions, and it's dead easy. All you have to do is categorize it, and at the end of the year, you've got all your accounts. If you've kept your QuickBooks up to date throughout the year, because I'm constantly updating my QuickBooks, I'm constantly going through and categorizing stuff and attaching receipts and that. If you do that throughout the year, when you come to do your self-assessment, it shouldn't really take you much more than about half an hour. It takes me about 30 minutes to do my self-assessment if you're willing to keep things up to date. eBay gum. There's another advert for eBay gum. Quiz Bandicoot on YouTube. Welcome to you. Lovely picture there. Love that. At what size store, I assume eBay store, would you think about hiring help or growth? Ooh, that's a tricky one, Quiz Bandicoot. Yeah. I mean, your middle store on eBay does go quite far, doesn't it? I'm not sure the exact numbers. If somebody in the chat would like to just let me know, is it around 5,000 listings on the middle store? Something around that. I think it's quite a lot. You've got to be going some to be on the top store. And it costs a lot to be on a top store too. If you're on the top store, I would probably suggest most people will have an employee of some kind helping them out. I think middle store depends if you're at the top of the middle store, at the bottom of the middle store. I'm currently sitting around. I'm currently around 800 to 1,000 listings on eBay. I'm trying to stick around that. I want stuff to move quickly. I reduce prices quite quickly, so I don't have a massive inventory. I used to have 1,500, and I even went as high as about 1,800, but I reduced it a lot recently, and I found this works a bit better. So I don't need staff. I'm quite happy. I think you got to be turning over a decent amount. Yeah, I would think you'd need to be like over the VAT threshold, over the 85. Sorry, 90 now, isn't it? Over the 90K, to afford to be able to employ staff. So if you're over that 90K, if you're pushing over 100K, then you might need, I don't know. Everyone's business is different. That's the thing, Bandicoot. Very, very, very different. Love United says, has got a comment here. £1 no reserves are hard on tilt. Well, I tell you what, Love United, they're not. They're much harder on Whatnot, and I'll tell you why. Because Whatnot take a much bigger percentage on a £1 sale. Tilt's percentage is very small. That's the good thing about Tilt, is that the percentage is it 2%? It's about 2%, isn't it? It's very small. So if you sell something for £1 on Tilt, you pay 2p, and there's no per item transaction like on Whatnot, and the buyer pays some of the fees, a bit like Vinted. So if you sell something for £1 on Tilt, you're making a lot more than if you sell something for £1 on Whatnot. If you sell something for £1 on Whatnot, you make about 59p. It's a shocker, and that's why I always say, like I said before, that if you're constantly selling on live selling for £1, £2, and £3, especially Whatnot, even more than Tilt because of those fees, those per item fees are killers. If you're doing it at that level, you can't. I don't believe you can sustain it. Even if you're getting items for free, you have to question whether it's worth your time selling it at that price. And it does get disheartening to sell at that price, because you know full well that you could get more if you spent a bit more time listing it on eBay. But that's the beauty of live selling. It's the fast turnaround. It's the quick sale of multiple items in a very short space of time that you don't get on eBay, or you don't yet get on eBay. When live selling comes out on eBay, who knows what will happen? But thank you for your question. Oh, thank you, Savvy Mum, who enjoys the videos. I appreciate your comment there. Thank you very much. Emporium says 1,500 listings and 500 auctions from middle store. Are you sure that's right, Husty? I'm pretty sure you get at least 600 auctions. Let me look at mine for just 1 second, just to check. I'm sure you get more than 1,500, don't you? Sure you do. I get 600 auctions, and I'm on a middle store. But I don't know what your maximum is. Maybe you're right, 1.5. Is it one? Yeah, I think it is 1.5. I think you're right there, Husty. But it's definitely 600 auctions. I've just looked at that. But yeah, thank you for coming back to me. I think you are right on 1.5. I don't know where I got 5,000 from. Maybe is that the threshold in order to go to the top level? Is 5,000 roughly the threshold where you're going to save money going to the top level? Something like that, isn't it? Husty's Emporium says, how do eBay gross figures go into QuickBooks? Well, This is something everybody needs to be aware of, because you have to put your gross figures into your accounts. If you're only putting your eBay payouts in, you are missing a huge chunk of sales figures, and you're missing out your fees. You have to account for everything, and that's where it can get a little bit complicated for some people. So basically what I do, Husty, and I think what most people do, is you put a what do you call it? You add in to your figures. What's the phrase I'm looking for? I'll get it on my let me just get it on my QuickBooks. It's an uplift. It's a sales uplift. So basically, if let's give you an example. If this week's payout was £1,000, what you actually earned on eBay was not £1,000, because you paid fees. £1,000 is after fees. So what you actually earned, for example, is 1,200. So in QuickBooks, what you'll have is, for every payout, you'll have 3 transactions in your QuickBooks. You'll have £1,000 in from your bank account, because that's what eBay sent you. But then you have uplift amounts. So what you do is you put your fees in as an outgoing. It's like it's almost like a fictitious outgoing, because there isn't actually a physical transaction in your account, but you have to put it in your QuickBooks accounts. So you'd have a fees of 200 going out, but what you also do is then you put an extra sales uplift of £200 that exactly matches your fees. So then in total, what you've got in your accounting system is £1,200 income and £200 fees, and that then solves the problem. I have a spreadsheet which Aaron, the QuickBooks chap, kindly made for me, and I think he might have done it for a few people. And what I do is I copy and paste my payout download every week into the spreadsheet, and it spits out 2 numbers. It spits out those uplift numbers. Oh, it spits out the effectively the 200 in and the 200 out, and that then equals up all your accounting systems. But you do have to do that with almost every marketplace. So Vinted being the exception, because you don't actually pay any fees unless you do your your bits of promotions and stuff. But if you sell on Whatnot, you also have to do that, because otherwise you end up with an amount going into your account, but that doesn't account for fees. So you do the uplift again, which always matches exactly. Sales uplifted and fees are the same amount, incoming, outgoing. But you might think it cancels each other out, but otherwise your accounts are not accurate otherwise. Hopefully that answers your question, Husty. I'm sure you know anyway, but it might help for somebody else. Tommy Trades, welcome on YouTube. Question from Tommy Trades. What are your top tips for saving and efficiency, can't speak still, when it comes to getting things listed on eBay? Trying to increase my listing goal to 20 from 10 each day. Good question, that, Tommy. Don't watch YouTube. Turn YouTube off, because that is a major distraction. Turn off all your TVs, but you can have podcasts on, of course. And the best podcast being the Everything Reselling podcast. You can always listen to that. But on a serious note, here's what I do, and I know I can only speak for me. I draft on my laptop. So I have the item. I'll get maybe 5 items. I do like little bundles or batches. I do them in mini batches. I don't do big batches. I like to do mini batches, because then I feel like I'm achieving something throughout the day. So I might get 5 items or 10 items, and I will draft on my laptop here, and I'll do the complete draft. Everything required in a draft apart from the photos. Everything is in there ready to go. I'll save it and I'll do that 5 to 10 times on those items. I'll do all the research, everything there and then. And then what I'll do is I'll move over to my photographing area and I will open each draft on the eBay app, take the photographs in the app, and then once the photographs are in, I'll just go to the bottom of the listing and make it live. And I'll do that then 5 to 10 times, however many I've done. And then I'll start again. If I want to do more, I'll get another little batch of 5 or 10 and I'll start again. And that way, like a couple of times during the day, there's batches of items getting listed live. And I find that works for me. I find that works better than just listing on the app. I don't know why. I just find I never used to do this, by the way, but I just find that when I'm drafting on the laptop, on the desktop, I just find it easier to do that and doing your research and stuff. But also, when you draft on your laptop, you get better options of things to fill in that you don't get on your phone. And the main one, the massive thing that you should always fill in is that item condition box when you are drafting your listing, making your listing. The item condition box is really, really prominent when people are searching for your item. And when they look at going into your listing and have a look, it comes up right underneath the price. Now, if you list on your app, you don't get that item condition box. And I've got no idea why, but they really should put that on the app because that's a big one. That's a really important box. And I find it makes a big difference that. That's how I do it. I do it in batches, start off on the laptop, photograph with the app, make it live, and then I go again. That's how I do it. Welcome to everybody else in the chat on YouTube. I appreciate everyone popping in. Let me know if you've got a question, a comment, or a discussion point. I'm happy to chat about it. The Tap Peddler Derek, welcome to you. What's your worst ever sales fail on eBay? I'm thinking error in packaging, undersold, that sort of thing. Oh, that's a good question, Derek. Blimey. A question like that I need to think about. I need my sidekick here. Where is Belle? Because she normally tells me these things. I can't retain information like this. Let me have a little think about it. What's your worst ever sales fail? Undersold. Ooh. Error in packaging. I don't know, Derek. I can't think. Let me. What about? Well, I have sent the wrong item to the 2 items to the wrong people in the past, and that's actually happened to me as a buyer this week. Somebody sent me the wrong item, but yeah, I think that's relatively common when you end up having to ask your buyer to then ship the item to the correct person, and then ask the other person to ship the item to the other person. I don't think I've had any major sales fails. We all make cock-ups, don't we, Derek? Let me flip it. Let me flip it to you, Derek, because you're not live on YouTube and live doing a podcast. So let me know what yours is. And if I think of anything else, I'll come back to you. Love United say, yeah, Tilt are generous to sellers at the moment, which is great. I'm a little bit behind on the street. Oh, it's okay. Yeah, Tilt are throwing a lot of benefits out to sellers at the moment. Like sales benefits and show benefits, referral benefits and stuff like that. And Whatnot are doing the same. Whatnot have just released a new referral scheme, a bit like like you can do Amazon referrals, like an affiliate scheme. Sorry. So Whatnot are doing like an affiliate scheme now. So if you share a show and somebody clicks on that link and goes and buys stuff from the show, you get a percentage, like a 3% or whatever of that. So yeah, Whatnot have started that now. But I can't help but think both Whatnot and Tilt are just not putting the money into major advertising. I just think it's a massive mistake. Could end up going the way of Poshmark, because that was their big mistake, wasn't it? Poshmark cocked that up, didn't they? Just doing no advertising, relying on their sellers to promote. And great in the short term, it's fine, but long term, I don't think it's sustainable. And Love United, sorry, says live selling on eBay would be a game changer. I feel like there'd be a lot of do's and don'ts. So yeah, that's true. Nonetheless, an exciting space to keep an eye on. Yeah, definitely. I definitely think it's excited. It's exciting. It's such a different way to operate than normal. What I've said this at a previous show. What I would like to see eBay live selling do is two things. I'd like you to be able to just just sell something quickly like you can on Whatnot until, like just put a listing up, or put a batch of listings up before your show starts, like item on screen or buyer's choice, something like that. And you can just hold something up, you can describe it, you can sell it. But also, I'd love eBay to have that option to dip into your eBay shop while you are live and pull something in and sell it. So say, for example, I've got a football shirt on my eBay store that's £50. Maybe I've had it a while. Maybe it's been on the store 6 months and it's had a few reductions and it's still not selling. What I'd like to be able to do on the eBay live selling app is bring it in there and then on the show onto the app, and literally say, guys, we're going to auction this one now, and it's currently up for sale for £50. We're going to start it at 20, and we're going to sell it no matter what. And there won't be as much describing needed because the whole listing will appear on screen. People will be able to look at loads of photographs that's already on. They'll be able to look at the condition, the description, and everything. And it would be great to be able to just pull in the listings and live sell it there and then. And I think if that happens, I think it's a game changer. But I also don't want them to discount the other option that currently you have on Whatnot and Tilt, and that is to do just ad hoc, sell anything there and then. Quick type in of a title, start it at £1. I'd still want eBay to be able to do that too. Welcome to Zebu here on YouTube. What happens if your item fails eBay verification? Do they send it back to you? Yes, they do, Zebu. I've actually had one item that has failed authentication, a pair of trainers. It was ages ago now, but when it failed, I'm convinced that they made a mistake, but I don't know. Who knows? I'm convinced that they were genuine, but they failed authentication. They got sent back to me. Thankfully, I didn't get any strikes. I didn't get any black marks on my account or anything. It just got sent back to me. The buyer was informed they failed and they got refunded, and that was it. But I would think that you're not going to get away with that many times. I think that there's probably a finite number of times you can actually get away with that. Welcome to everybody else who's joined us. Tommy Trades has come back following that, my little bit of information about processes and listing processes. And Tommy says, similar to my current approach, however, I'm filling in the specifics after photographing at the moment. We'll try smaller bundles rather than going the whole 20 at once. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you fill in the specifics after doing the photos. Why? I'm not sure why you would do it in that way, but I'm sure you've got a logical reason for doing it like that. But if you're listing on your desktop, if I was you, whilst you're there as a time saver, I would do the whole listing on your desktop. But my advice would be is maybe not go the whole 20 at once. I would either split it in half or split it into 3 and 4. Do it in small lots. Yes, that might take a little bit more time, but it's all about, for me, that is all about feeling like you're making progress throughout the day. and you're getting stuff on listed throughout the day rather than 20 all at once. And I don't think it makes a massive amount of difference, but mentally for me, I prefer to know that in the morning I've had 5 or 10 go on, and in the afternoon I might have 5 or 10 go on, rather than all day nothing and then 20 bang. I don't really think it makes a difference. I think it's just a mental thing in my head. Tap Peddler Derek's come back and said it is hard to remember, but a recent one was listing a singing fish, which this is the Billy Bass, isn't it, Derek? Which was very rare apparently, and it getting snapped up, and instantly got a few messages since from others. Yeah, so you reckon that you undersold it? But the thing is, Derek, I know you only paid like £2 for that singing fish, and it went for 50. So you can't really have too much of a grumble. There was a recent video I put out on a similar thing, Derek. I picked up a anime Monster Rancher plush toy. It cost me like 50p. So it's very, very cheap. I couldn't find any evidence of what this was going to be worth. So I took a guess at £50. I went stupid. I put £50 on. At least I thought it was stupid. And it sold within like 20 minutes or something. So quick. Basically, someone sent me an offer really quick. I think it was like £42 it sold. They sent me an offer really quick. And I just took it. I just thought, bird in the hand. You know that old phrase, bird in the hand? It's just, you just have to think back to what did you pay for it? Do you want a quick flip? You can flip that money. You can keep flipping that money and spending it on something else and flipping it and listing, and you might as well take it. I had another one as well, actually. I listed a Walkman this week. I listed a Walkman, not a Sony one, but I just call them Walkmans, for $149.99. That's an expensive Walkman. And somebody came in with an offer of $99.99. It was GSP from the US. And I just thought, and it was pretty quick. It was, within 24 hours, I had an offer of $99.99. And I thought to myself, I wonder if I wait a bit longer, will I get more for that, or will I get closer to my asking price? But I said to Belle, what do you reckon? Shall I take $99.99? And she said to me what I say to everybody else, how much did you pay for it? And I said, £6. It's a no-brainer. You take that money and you run. You take it and you run. £6 into £99, £2 into £50. You take it. Because essentially, yes, you might have had another offer, but maybe it had taken another week. Maybe it had taken a month to sell. Maybe that Walkman had still been there 2 months later, me waiting for me £150. Take it. Always think about the quick flip is the best kind of flip. And when there's that kind of profit in it, definitely. Tommy Trades says, I would love it. Love it. If in the eBay live shows, people could vote on items they wanted to be presented next, maybe give them 3 options, and the most voted item gets auctioned or presented, like a Call of Duty map. Well, I don't know what the Call of Duty map is, because I'm not into that, but I kind of see where you're coming with that one, Tommy, because essentially, right, you want to sell things that people want to buy, don't you? There's nothing worse than listing an item on a live auction, like live selling app, and you just get no interest. So I see where you're coming from, in that if people vote, then there must be at least one person interested in buying it. But if they're voting on stuff that you've already got in stock, then I might be a bit reluctant, because that means you've got to bring that item out and potentially start it cheaper than what you've got it listed for, because there's no point in starting it at your buy it now price. No one's going to buy it. They can just buy it from your store. So if you've got something listed for £50, you're going to want to be starting it for less than half price, aren't you? Otherwise, you might as well not bother. And it's whether you're willing to sell that item or start that item at that kind of level. And that would be the thing. It's like if people were voting on stuff in your store, that probably wouldn't work. But if you show 3 things, like where do you want to start? Do you want to start with this toy, or this toy? Have a vote. Then that might work. Good question, though. Derek says, I can't see live selling being that popular with the general public. I don't know, Derek, I think it could be really popular. Just look at what it is in the States. Whatnot is humongous. It really is massive. People are making a fortune on Whatnot, or they're selling a lot. Even if they're not making a fortune, they're selling a hell of a lot. There are, some streams on Whatnot in the US have got hundreds and even thousands of people in at the same time. It could be massive. And actually, as a buyer, it can be quite addictive. Welcome to everybody. I see people dropping in all the time here. Thank you for joining us today for series 3 of the podcast. Really appreciate you being here. This is how we're going to hopefully operate the whole of the series. We're going to take your questions, your comments, and we're going to discuss whatever you guys want to discuss. That's how it's going to go. Mainly because I'm lazy. Let's carry on. M's Den, welcome. The PM of reselling. Question from M's Den. What is your most favorite type of thing to list and why? I.e., do you prefer items that are quick to list or items that have more value but take longer to list? That's a very good question. Very well thought out. Well done. Do you prefer items that are quick to list or have more value? Oh, more value, 100% every time, Emsden. It's got to have more value. I don't mind it taking a bit longer. I'd definitely rather list something that's worth £100 listed, but will take me a good 20 minutes than something that's worth £10 listing that will take me 2 minutes. I definitely would go for the £100 one. What's your favorite type of thing to list? I'll tell you what is nice to list, and it's a nice process to go through. Trainers. And the big deal that I did with Trainer Lady really taught me a lot about buying and selling trainers and listing them as well, and researching trainers and looking for the different codes and the easy way to do the research. So now I quite enjoy dealing with trainers. As long as obviously they don't turn out to be fake, because there's a lot of fake trainers out there. So you have to watch out for those. But I find the process of doing a research for trainers very, very easy. You just get that ARP number or the Nike number that you get on the tongue and the inside. Very, very easy to find the items, and you can decide your price really quickly. So your research part is very easy on trainers, generally. And then your photographing is easy as well, because I have a set number of photographs I do for trainers. I do them in a set way. Pretty much every pair of trainers on my eBay store will look the same in regards order of photographs. I just do it like I don't know. You know what I mean? Like a process of photographing very, very quick. So I do quite enjoy selling trainers, and quite good values mostly as well. There's not many trainers that you sell, unless you pick up crap trainers. There's not many that you sell that are kind of under the £20 value. They're mostly over £20, aren't they? Helps to keep your average sale price up as well. Hope that answered your question, Emsden, the PM of reselling. Sales of the unexpected, Peter, welcome. Just a quick comment from Peter here. Underselling happens, but the good thing is it is selling. Better than having sticky stock. Absolutely, Peter. Totally right. Yeah. You take it as a compliment, don't you? Take it as a compliment. Somebody wants your item quick. And if the profit is there, if you're happy with the profit, take it and move on quickly, because there's nothing better than a quick sale. Soul Steps, welcome, Steve. I think eBay will be too big for live sales. There will be thousands of sellers on at the same time slots. I don't think they'll give that option for everyone. I think you're right there, Steve, actually. In that I don't think everyone will get that option straight up. But to be fair, Steve, I don't think it's for everybody anyway, because there's a hell of a lot of sellers out there who would not even dream of wanting to be on camera or speak live or do live selling. I think it's a tiny percentage of sellers on eBay, to be honest. The majority will just list as normal. But what it might do, live selling might bring a new wave of audience to the eBay app. Live selling, I think, is aimed more probably at the younger generation. I might be wrong with that. But I feel like Whatnot and Tilt are definitely aimed at a different demographic than your standard eBay. But if eBay live selling brings some of those people to the eBay app, that's got to be good for us all, even those that are not going to do live selling, because people are going to get used to shopping on eBay again. They might stick around. They might look for other things on eBay. They're going to rediscover eBay, because at the moment, I definitely think eBay have lost that younger generation, not as a whole, but I think as a general rule, I think eBay have lost that younger generation to other apps like Vinted and stuff. And the live selling offering from eBay could bring people back, and I think it'll be good for eBay in the long run. As a whole, I think it'll be good for everybody to bring back the younger audience, get them to rediscover eBay. Yes, Jeff says size 6 trainers. Yes, I am venturing out, Jeff, into different size trainers now. And George's Treasure Shed, welcome. I love photographing shoes and trainers. Is that odd? No, it's not odd at all, George, because I like it as well. I don't particularly like it when I buy trainers and they're all minging on the inside. You know, when you get loads of hairs and like sand and shit, and you have to clean the soles as well. One thing I do try and clean up trainers before I list them. Sometimes, oh, they are minging, aren't they? And they stink. Sometimes you just got to go in the washing machine before you do something, but not that often, to be fair. But I do think trainers are quite a good item to sell. If you've got any questions, comments, or discussion points, then please drop them in the chat now. And if you'd like to discuss something for next week's or the next podcast, I don't know when it'll be. I might do it sooner than a week, but you just need to follow me to see the next podcast, or download it on the audio. Hit that download button. But yeah, if you've got a discussion point for next time, drop a comment when this video is finished on YouTube, and just drop your question or your discussion point, and I'll try and pick up on it for next time. I have got one here that's from a previous podcast. I've got a question from Reseller Georgie. I don't know if Reseller Georgie is watching, but he did drop a question absolutely ages ago. But rest assured, everybody, I always pick up on the questions, and I wrote this one down. And George says, if you could only sell one thing and it holds its value, what would it be? One thing. If I could, well, I kind of said trainers earlier, didn't I? It's a similar question to M's Den, but I actually do love selling movie-related toys. That's how I started life as a reseller, was selling movie-related stuff, and I love selling figures and toys. Anything film-related, I like selling. So I guess trainers, yes, I said that earlier, but also I do love selling movie-related stuff because it's what I'm interested in. I think it's always easier to sell items in categories that you have an interest in. And I do always say to people that if you're not sure where to start when it comes to reselling, start with stuff that you have an interest in. Start with things that you know about, that you have knowledge in. If you're an expert on football or soccer, and you've got a collection of football shirts, start by selling football shirts, because that's where your knowledge is. You'll know what to look out for. You'll know, what things sell for. You'll know how to look at fakes. That's where you start. Start where your knowledge is. And then when it's going well, you can branch out and do other things. That's what I did. I started with movie, TV related stuff. Not that I was an expert in it, but I just enjoyed it. It's easier to list and sell stuff that you enjoy than it is to list and sell stuff that you've got zero interest in. I guess there'll be a few people who might say, is there anybody in the chat actually right now who holds the opinion that I do not give a toss what I sell? I'm just in it for the profit. Because that is a view that some people will have. And I totally get that. I will sell things that I have no interest in, but I also like to mix it in with things that I do have interest in as well. It keeps it interesting. But yeah, let me know in the chat if you've got that kind of viewpoint. I hope that answered your question, Reseller Georgie. I know you asked me that ages ago. I did write it down. But I pick up all kinds of stuff because I'm an everything seller. I pick up all kinds of stuff at a boot sale. So there's probably like 80% of items that I pick up at a boot sale I actually don't have much interest in. And then 20% of it I kind of know about, or I have an interest in. It might be a movie related toy or something, pop figures or something. So yeah, I think mostly I actually pick up things I don't have interest in, but I feel will have value. Apart from Lego. Forget the Lego. Forget it. You lot who pick up Lego, you can have it. I'm not asked about it. Tommy Trades says, I like listing trainers, but I don't enjoy scrubbing them. No, exactly. Question from Jeff. Thank you, Jeff, for your question. Would you say that most of your eBay and whatnot purchases are for your personal use or collection and not for reselling? Ooh, Jeff. It's probably 50-50, I reckon. In fact, no, actually, I would say it leans more towards I pick up things to resell. Probably 70-30. We'll just make that up because most percentages are just made up, aren't they? 70% I pick up for reselling, and then 30% to keep for my collection. There you go. That's my answer. I have to try and stop myself buying too much for my own collection. Guy King says, I think you're the Rupert Murdoch of selling, Chris. Thank you for that comment. I don't know if that's a compliment or not, Guy, but I appreciate it anyway. Tommy Trade says, most of my stock is like that, but then toys and games are the fun side of it for me. I like to list them almost as a treat. It's listing as a treat, Tommy. Come on. It's not a treat. It's not really. Sales of the Unexpected on YouTube says, I have preferences for things I sell, but will try selling most things if there's profit. I think that's probably the same as me, Peter. I have preferences, and I'll always lean towards those preferences. However, if I see something, it's cheap enough, and if I believe there's profit in it, I will pick it up, even if I've got no interest. I'll pick up ladies' clothes. If it's cheap enough and I think there's profit in it. I don't particularly like listing ladies' clothes, and I don't wear them on a regular basis. But if there's profit, I will sell them. I don't do a lot of ladies' clothes though. 70% of percentages are made up. I'd go higher. I'd probably say 80%, Guy, definitely. And let me know any questions or comments or discussion points in the chat. Yes, sales of the unexpected. But those ladies' clothes are just for personal use, right? Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. I have got another question. This is quite an in-depth question. This is from Flip and Phil on YouTube. And this question was sent a while back, bit like Reseller Georgie a minute ago, and I made a note of it, and I thought I'll come back to that one day, and today is that day. And their question is, what's the short and long-term strategy of live selling or sellers, live sellers? How are they factoring in the following? When Whatnot stop paying them to do lives, when free credits run out, seasonality, like boot sale season, and can the most viewed sellers maintain a supply chain? Those are really good questions about live selling. Let's break it down. What's the short and long-term strategy of live sellers? For me, doing the live selling is just about complementing my other platforms, my other marketplaces. So the other places that I sell and even buy from, because I buy from live selling as well. It just complements what I currently do. It's an addition. It's additional income stream. So long term, I have no plans to just do live selling. I don't think it's there at the moment. Maybe when eBay comes along, it might be. Right now, there's no way for me anyway. Could be. I can't speak for anyone else, but for me, long term, it's not there as a sole platform. But it's always a good idea as a reseller to have multiple income streams. And I always think, I mean, you can put a number on it, but I always think if you can have 10 different income streams in your business, this is just my opinion, then that's a good thing. If you've only got one income stream, I think you should probably consider whether you can add to that. But long-term strategy for me is to just have it as an additional income stream, as another way of earning some income. And they've put, how are people factoring in when the Whatnot stop paying them to do lives? I've never been paid by Whatnot to do a live. Never, ever, ever. I do know that some people have been. I have not. I've been on Whatnot. I'm one of the longest sellers on Whatnot. I was there before the likes of Chatty Pete, Luxury Pickers, all that lot. I was there almost at the beginning. I've been on Whatnot since March of last year. So that's 12, 13, that's 14 months I've been on Whatnot for, way before the majority of people came on Whatnot. And I never got paid to do a show. Hand on heart, I'm always honest, never got paid to do a show. Never, ever, ever. The only incentive I ever got from Whatnot was in the first month, I had no fees to pay, which is a fair benefit for the first month. And also, I'm a member of their like referral schemes. So if you click my link, you get some free money to spend, and I get some free money to spend. And I might sign up to their affiliate scheme. I'm not sure yet. So as far as that goes, I've never been paid to do a live. Is a little bit different on Tilt. I have had benefits of Tilt of doing lives, not actually paid to do a live, but Tilt have bought or contributed towards giveaways on Tilt. So they have contributed toward giveaways, and also they have referral schemes as well. And if you refer a certain number of people, you get extra bonuses, stuff like that. It's not really sustainable in the long term, though, for these platforms to carry on doing that. It's really not. It'll cost them a fortune, won't it? Mind you, if they're going to do that instead of TV advertising, it's probably cheaper. The next point was when free credits run out. Yeah. I feel like on Whatnot at the minute, I feel like they could be victim to that at the moment, is when people's free credit runs out. You can't factor that in. All you've got to do is hope that enough people who joined Whatnot at this with their free credit, enough people stick around and actually spend their own money. And I guess that's what Whatnot and Tilt are hoping for, is that by giving people some free credit to spend, they're going to stick around and spend their own money in the future. We as sellers can't affect that. Seasonality, boot sale season. Well, for me, I don't worry about seasonality too much because in the winter, I'll focus a lot on sourcing online, wholesale clothing. arbitrage, stuff like that. So I don't worry too much about seasonality. And the other point was, can the most viewed sellers maintain a supply chain? This is a really good question. I'd love to know, like, of all the live sellers, how they actually source their items to sell. Because everyone's doing it differently. And I think some people are doing it the traditional way. They're going to boot sales, they're going to charity shops, they're buying stuff online, and then they're flipping it. They're trying to flip it on Whatnot for a profit. They're trying to flip it quickly. The idea about live selling is the quick flip. Like in a 3-hour show, I could flip 50, 60, 70 items in 3 hours. So quick, with with no research, no listing, no photographing. That's the beauty of it. But what you have to accept with the live selling is you earn a lot less than if you'd have spent the time to list it on eBay. That's what you have to accept. It's a juggling act. It's like, if I can source tons of stuff that I don't have time to list myself, but I can flip in 3 hours on a Whatnot show, then that's amazing. That's where sellers need to be. Or I think the other option, I think that a lot of sellers do, and I've done it once and I might do it again in the future, is work on commission. Or, like, somebody comes to you and says, will you sell my stuff for me? And we'll split the profit. And that way you've got no outlay for stock. Other than the only thing you've got to consider is your time to do it and your time to set up and your time to post and pack and stuff like that. I've done it once, may do it again, I'm not sure yet. But that's the other option. And I actually think that is one that there's a lot of people doing it. Maybe we don't know they're doing it. It's up to them if they tell their audience or not. But I think a lot of people do that, where you are splitting the profit with somebody who actually owns the stock that you're selling. That's probably a good way to go in the future for a lot to sustain it. Because really, in my opinion, I don't think you can sustain buying from charity shops and boot sales and buying online, like buying on Vinted and then flipping it on Whatnot. I don't really think you can make enough money to make it worth your time doing that. I think if you are doing that and you're making good, fair profit, then fair play to you. But I don't think you can do it long term because it's just not worth it. If you're like I said before, if you spent £1 on something and you sell it on Whatnot for £1, you've lost money. If you sell it on Whatnot for £2 and you spent £1 on it, you're almost making nothing. If you sell it for £3 and you spent £1 on it, you're making a very, very, very small profit. So it's very hard. It really is. It's difficult. So thank you for your question, Flip and Phil. I hope that answered it in some degree. Let's go back to the YouTube chat because we're coming to the end of today's podcast. I'll see if there's any more questions banding about. Let's see. Chris is the Whatnot OG. Technically, yeah. I mean, there were a few people before me, but I was there at a similar time to Magpie Toys. I was right there just a couple of months after they opened in the UK. There wasn't much by many now, though. Jeff Davis says, you've been on Whatnot since when it was called What Yes. Secret Carper's got a question here. Do you get your phone out to research an item at the car boot, or do you go on gut feelings? For me, it depends on the price it's being sold for. Totally that, Mr. Carper. Totally. I'm the same. But I will say this, I would say the majority of things that I buy at a boot sale, I just buy on gut instinct now. I just can't be asked getting my phone out. It's too much hassle. I've got me IKEA bags like this, like trudging about, and then I've got to put them down. I've got to get my phone out. I've got to make sure I don't drop it on the floor. It's a big bloody Max thing. It's like carrying a bleeding iPad in your pocket now, these phones. You can barely even do it one-handed now. Don't clip that bit. Yes, I can't be asked. I can't be asked. This last boot sale I went to this weekend, I think I checked 2 items. One was £25. That was an iPad case, 25 quid. I thought I've got to check that, and even then I think I've made a cock up on it. I didn't check it properly. What else? A couple of other things. But yeah, I'm with you. 9 out of 10 items I don't check. Totally gut instinct. If it's over 10 quid, I will mostly check it. Paul Rose has popped in. Thank you, Paul. Thank you for joining us on YouTube. Has anybody else's sales tanked? 2 in 5 days. Oh, wow, Paul. Can't remember the last time it was this bad. That is pretty quiet, Paul. I guess it depends on what your level of reselling is, though. So I'm not sure. It depends how many things you list. You know, have you been active on YouTube? eBay. Have you been active on eBay? Have you been listing a lot? If you haven't been listing, have you been? What is there any other factors potentially affecting your sales? It has been indifferent. I will say for me, over the last, I think 3 months, eBay has been very, very up and down. It's been indifferent, really. It's been difficult to get any consistency. And Zebu also says their sales have tanked for about a month. Sales of the unexpected, Peter says, I couldn't make a profit buying from charity shops and selling on eBay. Whatnot, wouldn't have a hope. Yeah, charity shops are so difficult at the moment, Peter. I mean, you know what? I can't remember the last time I bought an item from a charity shop to resell. Just the prices have rocketed. I don't even know how a lot of them, are keeping going, because I'm pretty sure resellers. I'm not just like saying this because I quite happily buy stuff from charity shops for myself, but I've not even found anything for myself lately. It's too expensive for me, let alone to resell. Charity shops aren't there for us, are they, as resellers? But I think it's hard to even buy stuff for yourself now. Really is. Tommy Trade says, did you hear about the charity shops complaining that their sales are slowing down and the quality of stock is getting lower as people can now sell it themselves? I've not heard that, Tommy, but I'm absolutely not surprised by it. Totally not surprised. They need to take a long, hard look at themselves, really, Tommy. That's my opinion. They need to take a long, hard look at the prices they're putting on things. They've lost, I think, the majority of resellers these days. I know people still buy from charity shops. I mean, I watched a video from George Ross not long ago, and he was saying, our charity shop's dead. No, they're not. I've still bought all this stuff. And yeah, people still do. And, that's great. But here's what I find with charity shops. Yeah, you can still find stuff. But I might have to spend all day going to all the charity shops around here to find a few bits to sell. So yes, you can find stuff. But when you think about the time it's taken you, I'd rather not bother, because it's not worth your time. I think you have to look at the time it takes to source. Going in and out of charity shops, not picking anything up, and then okay, you go to the next one and you find 2 items, and then you go to another 2 and there's nothing, and you go to the next one and there's 1 item. My time, like that, say that's 3 hours of my day, not even a full day. Say 3 hours of my day trudging in and out of charity shops, buying next to nothing. I'd rather spend 3 hours trawling the internet, finding stuff on eBay. You can find stuff. I could find a ton of stuff right now in 3 hours on eBay to flip back on eBay. I would find more than I would go in charity shops, or on Vinted, or on Depop, or Whatnot, or Tilt. I bought loads of stuff on Tilt. Trainers. I bought loads of trainers on Tilt, flipped them, sold quite a few recently that I've flipped from tilt. My 3 hours would be better spent going on a tilt show or a whatnot show and buying stuff. Much better time spent. Um, Husty, in 6 months ago, you wasn't selling trainers. Well, it was a bit more than 6 months ago, but yeah, I know what you're saying, Husty. Yes, I didn't like selling trainers, but when you start seeing the money you can make from trainers, then your opinion starts changing. When you get used to listing them, cleaning them, researching them, when you've got that down to a T, it becomes a lot easier. It's like anything. I'd probably be all right selling women's clothes if I could get used to the sizing and listing and stuff, because I sell men's clothes all right. So there's probably no reason why I can't sell women's clothes, but I just don't enjoy selling them. But I guess if I did it on a regular basis, it would become second nature anyway. George's Treasure Shed said there's a charity shop near me I go to twice a week and probably fill an IKEA bag a week. It's even a chain shop, not an independent charity shop. Must just be down to staff pricing items. Yeah, it's probably just local pricing strategy. If the pricing things to sell at a reasonable price, then yeah, definitely. But if you venture out of that, George, if you venture to all the other charity shops in your area and go in and out of those, do you find the same, or is it a waste of time? And Jeff says, "Fun podcast. We have reached the beach at Southport and must. Oh, have a good day, Jeff. I hope you have a nice day down at the beach. Enjoy. You deserve it." And Husty's Emporium says, "I'm somehow diverting myself into artwork, not by intention. I just keep finding great pieces." That's good. That's the thing, isn't it? Sometimes, like, you just start picking. You know what's happened this last couple of weeks, Husty? I picked up a few watches, and watches are not something that I really bothered with much. I mean, I'll pick them up if they're cheap enough and they look nice or I know they're valuable, but generally, I walk by most watches. But the last couple of weeks, and you might see this in a few videos coming up, I've actually started picking up a few watches and they've been doing all right. Um, if they're cheap enough, they're in nice condition. But what you find at boot sales is people sell watches dirt cheap, uh, mainly, I think, because they can't be arsed changing the battery in them. So you end up getting these watches cheap, and all you got to do is flip the back off and put a new battery in it. And I think I've listed about 5 watches in the last couple of days alone. And one of them's gone already for good profit. I think I paid 5 for it and I've sold it for 50. But yeah, I think once the battery goes on a watch, people just can't be asked with it. It's like, oh, let's just car boot it. Can't be bothered to getting a new watch, a new watch battery. So you end up getting it. You end up getting them for a couple of quid, and they're actually worth some decent money. So yeah, I've started looking at them more, and I think like when you get a couple of nice ones, Husty, like you said there, you've had a couple of nice paintings, and now you're starting to see paintings, and you never seen them before. Well, that's kind of what's happened with watches for me recently. I've bought a couple, they've done well, so I'm starting to see them more. It's like a subconscious thing. I'm starting to see them a bit more, and I'm starting to pick them up. And I'm learning a bit more about changing the batteries. And I know that sounds silly, but different watches have different ways of opening the backs, and I've started to learn a bit more about opening them up, getting the batteries out. It's not difficult. Some people think it's difficult. Cameras are another one. Yeah, yeah. Although I think with cameras though, Husty, I think there are a lot of resellers out there who zoom in on the cameras. If you want a better phrase, zoom in on the cameras. Yeah, they really do at the boot sales. You'll be lucky, to if you're first at a stall, that's great. If you're not, a lot of the time you've missed out on the cameras because there's a lot of resellers out there that deal in them. Yeah, exactly, Husty. Yeah, they're on my radar. Yeah, the same with you with the pictures, which is great. I'd love to know something about pictures. I see them all the time. I nearly spilt my drink then. I see them all the time, even in boot sales. You see pictures, but I don't pick them up. And you know what scares me about pictures is posting them. And I shouldn't really, because I post all kinds of. I posted a massive freaking dog the other day, a big For Real Friends dog. It's the biggest For Real Friends I've ever found in my life. It's about 3 foot tall. I posted that the other day, so there's no reason why I can't post a picture, but I guess it puts me off. It's like, is it going to get there in one piece? George's Treasure Shed says, I've got an exciting item, potentially my first 4-figure item. Wow. An original Beatles movie poster from 1965. I've ordered a frame. Only one listed, 2,850. Wow, George's Treasure said that sounds amazing. Is that something, George, that you feel you need to like get authenticated in some way before you sell it? Or are you just basically going on what you've seen online already? Is there someone out there who can tell you if it's, the genuine article or not? Oh, we just retro reselling. George Ross has popped in. Hi, George. We've just been talking about you, George, with charity shops. Any more wholesale leather jackets incoming? You might laugh, George. Seriously, you might laugh. But have a look at my solds list. I've sold a few of them in the last 3 months. I'm in profit. That's all that matters. Will I be buying them again? Absolutely not. No way, Jose. But I have made profit on them. I've sold a few, like £80, £60, £90. But yeah, I'm not buying them again. It's not worth the effort. I think we're done anyway. Thought my ears were burning. Yeah. We're done. I think we're done for today, guys. Anyway, that is the podcast. Let me know in the comments afterwards if you've got a question, a discussion point, a help me question, whatever you want. If you need advice, please put it in the comments once this show has ended on YouTube. Come back, make a comment, and I'll try and pick up on it for next time. That way, we've always got something to talk about. So that's it for today. I really, really, really appreciate everybody popping along to watch the podcast. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, Alexa, and all that stuff, thank you very much for listening. Feel free to hit that download button. It doesn't cost you nothing to download the podcast. And what happens then is every time there's a new episode, the podcast will download it straight away for you for nothing, for free. And it'll be there ready for you to listen to when you're working, you're listing or whatever. So yeah, that's it for today. Look out for the next podcast. It'll probably be next week. Anyway, see you later. Don't forget to hit that download button. Take care. That's it for today's episode of the Everything Reselling podcast. I hope you've enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, to follow, or to subscribe wherever you're watching or listening to this podcast. And we'll see you on the next episode.